My name is Cecilia Nadal, and I'm the Executive Director of Hitana Productions. We're doing this conference because over the last 15 years, we've discovered as an arts organization that has tried to bring this community together that it is so important for us to understand how to enter community, how to build community, and how to bring generally St. Louis together. So it is our interest to teach the skill of cross-cultural engagement so we can do better at that.
My name is Yvonne Berry, and I work here at the American Red Cross. And Red Cross helps to prevent and alleviate the suffering, the human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing our volunteers and also our financial donors.
And my name is Shirley Corbett. I'm the Director of Community Relations at DAFINC, DAFINC, Deaf Empowerment Awareness Foundation Incorporated. We work with the deaf community on effective communication, and we like to work with other organizations as well.
The two organizations met in September of 2010 at a Midwest Partnership in Prevention meeting. And from that experience, it started a wonderful future partnership. But that was the beginning of our collaboration.
In that meeting, Tony Nitko, who's the director of our marketing, had that idea of working together in partnership with DAFINC. We are here to let people know the diversity of the languages. So there's different variety of deaf people that may use sign, that may use oral. There's a diversity in that area that where we can work together and learn from that.
So true. So in the partnership, we know the importance of having an interpreter present. Also to have a staff person who knows sign language. So if and when a deaf person family comes to Red Cross, we have a skilled staff that can communicate with that family. So that's important to Red Cross.
Yes. It's very important that communication is clear with me and my family, because my family is deaf as well. So in order to move forward, yes, into what you call it, resilient recover, we need to understand. And with that understanding, you have effective communication. And with that, it's important to have interpreters as well. If you do not know sign, then have an interpreter that, like her, who knows how to sign. Communication.
Thank you.
Some of the difficulties is bringing the two cultures together and learn diversity. This helps reduce the awkwardness and understanding between two different cultures.
And I guess also through the partnership to have an increased knowledge of the importance of the role of the interpreter, and also the importance of the role of a person who knows sign language to have a presence in the community, and also at the annual Deaf Expo. So that was very important, to have just that increased knowledge of the role of the interpreter. Cross-cultural engagement is important because it helps to increase the knowledge about tolerance. of different cultures. Here at Red Cross, we know the importance that all people will have access to all of our different services. And just for an example, we teach the deaf community CPR. When there is a disaster, then we call interpreters to interpret and give information about our services. So it's important for the entire city of St. Louis and across the nation to know that cross-cultural engagement will help to empower people, and that's important.
Right. I agree. Also, for the new generation, the young people, it destroys them.
Myths.
Going on about the deaf people, for example, like deaf people cannot drive. So forth. It's very important that the community in St. Louis are aware of the diversity of communication with the deaf.
St. Louis, we want you to get hooked on cross-cultural engagement.
San Luis, quiero que te enganches en la cultura de otros.
St. Louis, I want you to get hooked on cross-cultural engagement.
Hi, I'm Jaime Torres. I'm from Puerto Rico. My mother is white. My father is black. I'm here in Mid-America because of the Air Force. I love entertainment, and I'm 69 years of age.
My name is John Groh. I'm a two-time Billboard independent artist. I'm black, Japanese, and Puerto Rican. My grandmother is from Okinawa, Japan. My grandfather is from San Juan, Puerto Rico. I'm 20 years old. I'm an entertainer, promoter, as well as a tattoo artist. What I remember the most about meeting Mr. Torres, though, is that I was actually reaching out, trying to learn more about my Latin roots. And Mr. Torres was kind enough, to mentor me and help me capitalize on my diversity. I feel like it's very important for everybody to connect and get together because, it can only spread knowledge, give us more knowledge on each other and actually cancel, maybe even possibly cancel out racism, because St. Louis is such a conservative city, with all the different races that are here. We must connect, man. We won't make it being segregated.
Challenges always exist among people because of culture. I've been very fortunate to always being able to speak to young people, regardless of my age, because music and entertainment is the international language that people get to understand each other and not to think of the differences. Our challenges have always been to ensure that our community is not fearful of who we are, that we're not trying to take over their importance, but making a world more easy to understand each other.
Also being an entertainer, one thing that I learned is that you have many different type of fans, and some I didn't even know, but I connected. I am doing many positive events around the city. I learned that I have some deaf fans, and I got involved. I had an interpreter, and I did a show for the deaf, and I learned about the deaf that they actually listen and they can understand your music through the vibrations of the speakers. And they stand by the speakers and they listen and they can feel your music, so they are still fans. So and to me, the fans make me a great artist and make me who I am. So it's my job to be a fan of my fans. Well, when you do the breakdown, kind of right now you have the Arabs that are controlling fuel. You have Asians that are import-exports. And the Latin community is planting their roots in politics and as well as the community. So right now, it's no business can survive just being segregated and being on their own. You have to have cross-cultural engagement in order to survive out here.
It's obviously that in America, capitalism, people always think of the bottom line. How do we improve the bottom line involves, particularly in the world of entertainment, is how do I get people to art club? How do we get people to events? And the way it is, you need to satisfy that taste. The taste is that it's going to be varied because we are diverse, and because the diversity means that people like or not like. So we represent America in a very microcosm, which is St. Louis. How do you get to that bottom line? You need to be there. So you need to be open to their likes and dislikes, at the same time that you're going to infuse what is it that you are more dominant. If he's a rapper, if I'm a salsa instructor, so those kinds of things people always look for, and they are going to find it with our relationship.
Well, Mr. Hyman actually didn't have to give me a chance, you know, so, but I wanna thank you for being a mentor to me and helping me capitalize on everything, because he gave me a chance as a promoter, you know, also. So that definitely, that's how, one way that I benefited from him.
St. Louis, we want you to get hooked on cross-cultural engagement.
Hi, I'm Gretchen Curry, and I'm an entrepreneur. I live in Kirkwood, and I've lived in Kirkwood since 1970 when I was a teenager. I'm African American, but I'm also of mixed heritage, English, American Indian. My parents were really from Kansas and Oklahoma.
I'm Kathy Lewis, and I live in Kirkwood. I'm a teacher. I teach 5th grade, and I'm white. I'm an American citizen, and I'm a mixed breed. I mean, my family comes from Europe, and we're just a mix of Bohemians and Irish and Germans and all kinds of different things.
Kathy and I met through an organization that started approximately 4 years ago in March 2008, called initially Community for Understanding and Healing, and later changed their name to Community for Understanding and Hope. The organization was born as a dialogue group that started after the shootings that took place at Kirkwood City Hall in February 2008.
And since then, we've been in a book club together, and also we've been in a Bridges group together, which is different, both African American and white families, couples, single people getting together and talking about issues that have to do with race.
I think race is always the elephant in the room that people don't talk about. It's the elephant in the room that President Obama can't talk about. But with the Community for Understanding and Healing and Hope, we were able to have a forum in which we could come together and talk about race, and that's continued through our book club and continued through our Bridges groups.
And I think history too, that we have to look at history and look at the way people have been affected by history and how different our experiences have been historically. And I feel like as a white person, I feel like I have so much to learn. And I feel like that open-mindedness, and I feel like people who are closed-minded are missing so much. That there's just the cross-fertilization of ideas is, like, to me, what's exciting about life. And in order to have that, we have to talk. Well, I feel like we live in a very culturally diverse community, but I feel like within that community, many different groups are isolated. And I feel like the only way that we all are going to be able to help each other and work together, both for ourselves and for our children, is to talk to each other, learn about what each other's needs are, and collectively work.
St. Louis, we want you to get hooked on cross-cultural engagement.
My name is Yashar Kumar, and I'm a physician. I've been in St. Louis for over 14 years. I have 2 children, age 18 and 16, and I work with the community organization which is called Bal Vihar of St. Louis, and we have educated our children through those activities, interfaith activities, cross-cultural activities, and currently we feel that they are ready.
My name is Subbu Subramanian. I was born in India. I came to this country in late 80s. We have two children, 18 and 16 as well. I work for a firm in St. Louis. I manage their global IT. St. Louis is a broad representation of America. It's in the right smack in the middle of the country, and it's an ideal representation of America. All marketing organizations use St. Louis as a test market, and it's no different for us. I think unfortunately we happen to be in St. Louis, and we believe in this cause, and I think it's absolutely critical we promote this cause.
And to take on that cause, I believe we need to have our children educated. We believe very strongly on family values. We teach our children in Balware of St. Louis how to engage in activities with other cultures and learn from them and give it back to them. I think initially it's a little bit of a reluctance to go across cultures, but as most of the Americans may know that we were one country a long time ago. So we were separated because of politics, but now I think all the people are really the same. So we felt that there were more similarities than differences. So we crossed the cultural boundaries to really help each other.
And we had grown up with differences, and I think it's a product of the environment. Once we came here, we started this whole process with the objective of educating our children and bringing the right value system to our children. That became the rally point for us, and all the obstacles, or the so-called obstacles, vanished in a quick second because we had the same objectives and goals for us and for our children. We feel we are doing the best for our children. We want our children to learn a lot more about other cultures, other religions, what the other religions and other cultures teach them, and trying to teach them to look beyond the noise that is out there, but look at the core of what value system those cultures and religions bring to their people and learn for themselves. So that is the important aspect in this whole thing for me, educating our children about the whole thing.
Yeah. The same way we want them to be better citizens of this country, and I think as we grow in communities which are multi-racial, and like in our subdivision, there are people from all over the world. So this is why we feel that the intercultural, or when you integrate with other cultures, you learn from them and you give something back to them. What are our strengths, and take these strengths from other cultures, and I think it benefits the kids, and kids are the building block of any society. So if you really nurture them properly, you are going to have a very good community to come, because later on these kids have to work together when they're older. So it goes cross boundaries. It could be an African American working with an Asian, or a white American working with a Spanish.
I think as we grew up, I think we had our own ideas, our perception. The moment you come over here and try to work with these different organizations, different groups, you start breaking down those kinds of perceptions and really understand we're all the same at the core.
I'm Rebecca Wiedeker, and I live in Kirkwood, Missouri, and at this time I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I do alternative and complementary kinds of therapy. I was traditionally trained as well, and more help people work with getting the belief systems out of themselves. I used to teach school. I taught school for 22 years and years ago, and I was a Benedictine nun from Portsmouth, Arkansas.
Hi, my name is Clyde Verde. I am an African American female, currently an urban farmer living in the city of St. Louis, Missouri, and I am an out lesbian.
I met Clyde through a friend of mine. Julian and I spent a lot of time together when we were both former nuns, and we hung out and did things on holidays, and very often Clyde was there, and that's how I met her, and we became friends and have kept up the relationship all these years. That was many, many years ago.
I remember meeting Aunt Rebecca through a person who I consider like my mother, who was at one point a social worker in a children's home that I lived in, and Mom we developed a relationship, and I would go over her house on holidays and going on camping trips, and she'd have dinner over, and that's how I met Aunt Rebecca. And then after a while, I left the residential facility and went to stay by default with Mom. And she looked up one day, and I and one of my foster brothers was on the front porch, and she decided to keep us. I guess like stray cats or something. But anyway, when you're used to living alone and you then now have two formally institutionalized teenagers, it can be a rough go. So every now and again, I guess Mom would find somebody to farm me out to, and one of those was Aunt Rebecca. So in a sense, Aunt Rebecca sort of kept me alive, because I think at those points Mom was ready to you gotta go. So that's how I remember our relationship started. Her friend Julene is kind of like Mom to me. I learned to make family wherever I was, and that's what you did back in those days, because in the institutions they'd bounce you around like once every 6 months to every 2.5 years. So having family was not, in the traditional sense, was not an option. So I learned to make family wherever I was. And so since she was a good friend with Mom, it just seemed to be natural.
I live out in the county. She lives in the city. Uses a bus all the time. We have access to cars and that way. There were times when she said, "Well, I don't think I want to go there." She would have to remind us, "I don't think I'd feel comfortable there." So it's like learning to respect that and understand without having to go into a lot of detail. I could get and understand it, but I didn't understand it totally, but I understood enough to know, okay, there's some other, that kind of thing.
It's a different world, and there are certain structures and things kind of like, and I'm going to say this only because this is the only comparison I have to. They tell me when you're in jail, there's someone who tells you when to move, when to get up, what to eat, when to go to bed, when to turn the lights off, and that's the structure I was used to. But when I was with Mom or when I was Aunt Rebecca, I didn't have as much of that, and so it was really weird. And now as an adult and having children, this relationship's very valuable because she knows more about it than I do. So there are times when I'll call and I'm like really crazy. And it's nice to talk to somebody who can look at that from a different perspective. But those are the cultural differences. It took me a long time to acclimate to non-residential living. A long time.
I had to understand too, that they have a little bit of acting out here and then, way back when, teenage, and to really understand that from that level, and she could help me, and I could kind of reason with her. There wasn't a lot of it, but there was some. Obviously, you do that with anybody. Any child is going to do that. Try to test whether we really do care that much, that kind of thing. So once in a while that happened way back when, but it doesn't happen. That's over with. All right.
Yeah, I'm almost 50, so.
It's there's so much needed kind of cross-cultural thing. And it puts everybody at ease. I think the more we can get rid of our fears, we have fears, white people have fears, people of color have fears, and why should we be afraid of each other? And such unfounded fears. We need diversity and come together with it, do the cross-cultural engagement. It makes so much sense.
Change has come to the White House, but it needs to come to St. Louis.
St. Louis, we want you to get hooked on cross-cultural engagement.
I think the conference is going to be so exciting, particularly since we are kicking it off with Howard Ross, an internationally known speaker. What the conference is going to do is it will give the attendees, all of the arts organizations that come, it will give them an opportunity to hear an amazing man who has been doing this for years, and it gives you the opportunity to sit and think. We are all so crazy busy that we don't get to think about strategies. We don't get to think about how do we really involve our community? How do we make our institutions richer? We want to.
People can expect to get straight talk about diversity and whether it works or not, and why we need to change the structure and approach to diversity in order to engage more people. This is more than just a conference, it's a campaign. St. Louis, we want you to get hooked on cross-cultural engagement.
Get hooked.